Hi, I'm Loretta, and I'm really glad that you showed up today. Welcome to my sewing room. So this is the pattern for the Eldon quilt. This can be purchased from laundrybasketquilts.com. I also have the templates. I highly recommend purchasing the templates as well. Without them, this quilt would have been much more difficult to piece. So I've chosen my 4 fabrics for the center star of the block. And I've got 1 dark, 2 mediums, and a light. And for this center of the star, you need 4 width of fabric strips, 1 out of each of these fabrics. So 2 of these fabrics were fat quarters, so they're not a full width of fabric. So I'll explain too when I go to the piecing how to deal with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut my strips. These are going to be 1 1/4 inch strips. So what I like to do is actually cut them a little bit wider. Then I turn my strip around and trim off the excess. So this particular fabric is a full width. So I'm going to need to cut 1. So 1 1/4 lined up. There's my excess. So there's my dark. My first medium. I like to cut so the fold is down here. This one actually already has a straight edge on it. The reason I like to have my fold at the bottom is because what I do is I line up one of these ruler lines with the fold, and that way I'm making sure that I'm getting a straight cut over here that's perpendicular at 90 degrees to the folded edge of the fabric. So there's my first medium strip. Now this particular fabric, this is a fat quarter, so I do not have a full width on this fabric. So I'm going to cut 2 1 1/4 strips. This first one I'll cut a little bit wide so I can straighten up that first edge. Set that aside and straighten it later so I can get my second strip cut. And making sure that my line on the ruler is not on the cutting mat, but that it is on the fabric. This first strip I cut and turn around. Trim it down to 1 1/4 inch. And this particular piece will also need to cut 2 strips of this one as well. So there's the strips I need for my first star center. 1 light, 2 mediums, and a dark. And next we'll go to the sewing machine and we'll start putting these together. Okay, so now I am ready to start sewing. What I've done is the 2 longer strips that were full width of fabric, I cut those in half. So I'm actually going to be making 2 strip sets. Now you have to offset these strips by 3/4 of an inch. And I have this little measuring gauge I bought quite some years ago. That's perfect for that. It's got all kinds of different measurements on it. And I've located the 3/4 inch measurement, and I'm just going to use that to offset these strips by 3/4 of an inch. If you don't do this offset, the strip set will not be long enough to get all 8 diamonds that you need out of it. So I've got my sewing machine set up. I sew on a Berlina 790 Plus. It has a dual feed feature, so I have my 1/4 inch foot on here and my dual feed engaged. I love having a dual feed feature on a machine to piece. And so now I'm just going to start sewing my 1/4 inch seam. I need to adjust my stitch length. I like to sew these at about a 1.9 stitch length. Okay, so sewing along here. I'll talk just a little bit more about my fabric selections. I did not choose all of my fabrics at the beginning of this project for the whole quilt or for this section of doing these 3 pillow shams. What I did was I cut half-yard cuts of all of my favorite pieces of fabric from my stash. Lights, mediums, darks, all of them. And then as I constructed each block of the quilt, I picked the fabrics for each of those blocks. So it's completely scrappy. There was no pre-planning ahead of time. It was a quilt that I just wanted to use all of my favorite fabrics in. So I just pre-cut half-yard chunks and picked them as I went along. Okay, so now I have my 2 strip sets pieced, and I'm going to press them. You'll press all of these toward the dark fabric. And remember, I have 2 strip sets here because I used fat quarters. I used half of a width of fabric, so I need 2 strip sets in order to get enough diamonds. So first I'm going to set the seam. And start actually over here on the light side. And press each one of these seams open, or not open, but press them toward the darker strip. Okay, so now I've sewed and pressed all of my strips. When I sewed my strips, I started with the dark, offset each one by 3/4 of an inch. I've got 2 here because I was using less than full width of fabric strips. And now these are ready to cut into the diamonds using the template. I am going to switch to a different cutting mat, and we'll be back and cut those diamonds out. So now what I have here is a turntable style cutting mat. This one is by Riley Blake Designs. I really like it. It works very smoothly with ball bearings to turn the table. It's a really good size. It works very, very well for this particular application. So here you're going to need your template, and you're also going to need a water-soluble marking pen. I really like these Bowen brand marking pens. They have 2 tips on them. There's really no difference in the tips. They're just double-sided. As you use these, and especially if you have it open for a little while, the tips will dry out, so try to close them as you use them. And I've got the template here for the diamonds, and this template gets laid on this strip set. Pull it down as far as you can to ensure that you get maximum use of the fabric you have available. Grab my rotary cutter. So you're going to want to make sure that your template is within all the raw edges of your strip set. So I'm going to cut 4 of these diamonds out of each set that I have pieced. So I'm going to line up my template, make my first cut, rotate my mat, do a little sliver trimming on that side. Now I'm going to mark these points. There are holes in the template for each of these points. This marker fits perfectly inside those little holes, so you can mark all 4 of your stitching points. And actually, I'm going to cut these wrong side up, then I'm going to have to flip it to mark my points. Put a piece of clingy non-slip ruler grip on the back of my template so it doesn't slide around. Again, marking all 4 points with the water-soluble marker. So I'll cut all 8 of these, 4 out of each of my short strip sets, and then we'll go on to piecing these diamond units. So if you find this information valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so I've done all the cutting of the diamonds. I have 8 diamonds here. They're all marked with their corner points. That will come into play when you start doing all the Y seams on this quilt. And this quilt is full of Y seams. But the first thing we're going to be doing is stitching this centered diamond star together. So, back to the sewing machine, and we'll get that part taken care of. Okay, we are going to start sewing these diamonds together into a star. I'm going to start at the inner point of the star right here and stitch this way. I'm going to stop stitching at that little blue dot and back stitch a few stitches. We're sewing this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. At the beginning here at the tip, you can start all the way back. You don't have to do any back stitching here. Again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm using my 37D 1/4 inch foot, lining up my raw edges. And I'm only going to stitch right up to that blue dot that we marked. Back stitch, cut my threads. I'm going to stitch these all together in groups of 2 first, and then I will continue on and stitch this sets of 2 together into sets of 4, and then I'll join them all together in the end to make the 8-pointed star. And I find that that blue water erasable Bowen pen, I can see it on pretty much most fabrics. There's a couple that it's really, you wouldn't be able to see it on a dark blue fabric or maybe even a medium blue fabric. You can use a white chalk pencil for that if you need to use a different color. I believe the water erasable pens come in a couple different colors as well, but I'll just use like a white chalk pencil if I can't. If I'm marking on a fabric where I really can't see the blue. Just lining up my raw edges there. Okay, I'm going to press these seams toward this dark fabric before I move on to putting these together into units of 4. Okay, here we are. I've pressed these toward that darkest strip. Now I'm just going to place these right sides together. Draw edges together. These seams will nest. We're going to do the same thing here, just stitch up to that mark that we made, back stitch. Again, we can nest those seams together at the tip. You do not want to overshoot that little point, that mark that was made. Better to fall even just a stitch shy of it than to go too far. So now these are in units of 4. Do the same thing. I'm going to press it toward this darker strip, and then I'll join the two halves together. All right, I've got those pressed, and now I'm going to join the two halves together. I'll do this from the center out, so 2 steps, 2 seams. Match those centers again. The seams will nest. Actually start about 2 stitches before that center intersection for this first half. And again, we're stopping at that blue dot. So that's the first half of that seam, and now I will finish it up with the second half. And now I have a completed center star. My points match nicely in the middle, and the next installment in this series will be piecing the corner log cabin blocks and possibly also getting into doing the Y seams. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Please like, share, and subscribe if you find this information valuable, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.